Hey y'all, I'm Dan Hamilton, host of the Next Gen Warrior Show here in downtown Austin, Texas in Studio 8. As always, the Next Gen Warrior Show is brought to you by Chairman George P. Bush and the Texas Veterans Land Board. If you are a veteran here in the great state of Texas, please look up all the benefits for home loans, land loans, and home refurbishment loans that the Veteran Land Board provides. Today I have a great guest, Joe Hogge of 12 Fox Beer Company. Joe, thank you for being with us today. Before we get started though, I want to kind of set the table for our audience on the beer business.
Okay.
Because I know that's one of the many different businesses that you're in, but maybe the most recent one. So an article from USA Today in 2019 says craft beer sales keep bubbling up. Retail sales of craft beer rose 7% in 2018 to $27.6 billion, according to the Brewers Association. That sales surge helped craft brewers to 24% share of the $114 billion U.S. beer market. Craft brewers are making more beer and are up 4% over the last 2 years. How does that sound to you as somebody who is making a beer and has started a brewery?
That sounds awesome to me.
So good industry to be in.
Yeah, good industry. Really, it's as far as you want to go in this industry. How big do you want to go? And there's a lot of new breweries. 54 opened last year just in the state of Texas. And it's something that in the last, probably good 6 to 8 years has really elevated in this industry. I don't know the exact numbers, but we're around 7,000 breweries now in the United States total.
So it sounds like there's a lot of competition, but you guys have really stood out, it sounds like, from the rest of the pack. You guys were recently named finalists of the Dripping Springs Up and Coming Business Award, which you won.
Yes, sir.
And you are
Very
also,
proud.
absolutely, and you are also a top 10 brewery in Texas, new brewery in Texas by Hopolytics.
Yes,
Tell
sir.
us where, that's obviously some amazing accomplishments. Tell us kind of where this journey started for you.
So the brewery and the business of getting into the brewery started with my buddy Aaron. We met in basic training in '94. Have been friends for a very long time after that. But right after basic, we went to Fort Hood. This was '95 now. Bosnia's kicking off, and so we get shipped to Germany to help beef up the troops before we go in and help the UN and whatnot. Well, anyway, that transition going to Europe and tasting real beer. You got to remember, this is a long time ago. The craft beer scene really doesn't exist, except for on the very far west coast in Cali and a little bit on the east coast around New York. But everybody drank, Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller
Kind of the
Lite.
middle of the road stuff.
Yeah, right. That's what you grew up on because that's what was available.
Right.
So to go to Europe and especially Germany and really...
It's like a beer mecca, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, it just tastes something so fresh because they have a brewery purity law in Germany where you're allowed to use 5 ingredients. That's it. No real chemicals, no preservatives, nothing. Which is a huge difference in the beer world. You drink some beer and the next day, if you're drinking those lighter beers or big ones, they put lots of chemicals in there, and you end up with a hangover and a headache and not feeling good. And when you're drinking a pure beer like they make over there, not that if you drink enough of anything,
you'll drinking it later.
They're great flavors, and even if you have 4 or 5 beers that evening, the next day you're not worthless, right? You're not just that drunk kid in the barracks.
So while you're drinking that beer, are you thinking, man, I can't wait in 20 years to own a brewery?
Had no clue that was going to happen. I was just loving drinking all that beer.
Yeah.
What happened was as soon as we get out and you come back to the States.
How long were you in for?
I did just under 8 years.
Okay.
So I did one more tour after Germany in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
But there's just not that beer here. You really have to search for it. There was a few of them that you could go get. Julius Echter is a really good beer that's imported from Germany. So you just have to be able to go to their, a special place and make sure you can find a good beer. Aaron took it to the whole other level of, he got out, became a CPA, went and did the corporate world, and he's like, man, I need a hobby. So
He starts brewing.
He
beer,
starts
huh?
home brewing,
Yeah.
right? He starts home brewing like 10 years ago or plus. Starts making beer and refines that process. You know, as he'll tell you, he failed way more many times than he succeeded. He threw a lot of beer away that, you know, he would try something and it just would come out terrible.
So while he was making this beer and he was going to get his CPA and he was doing what he was doing, you were also along with him there, or were you in a different state doing something totally different?
Totally different state, yeah. He's from Arizona, so he had moved back to his home area, ended up in Las Vegas after getting his degree to work for, you know, bigger firms. And so he started brewing in Vegas and just kept going. 5-6 years ago, he started winning a ton of competitions and entering a lot of stuff. His really kind of most famous one is he won a giant beer fest or beer competition in San Diego, nearly 300 beers, and he got best of the best show.
So was this a conversation you guys were having at this point about starting something, or were you just talking, or was this all happening outside of your purview?
Kind of outside of my purview. About that time, because of social media, you know, we linked back up over Facebook and all those things. Where you start going out and searching for your old Army buddies, right?
Seeing what your buddies are up to.
Where's Lou at? What's he doing?
You know, I didn't think about that too. For post 9/11 veterans, it's easy for us to keep up with guys because when you get out, everyone's on social media. They go to their hometown. Yeah. You can see what they've been doing. But for you, this was almost a rediscovering of not only an old friend, but of your love of beer together, huh?
Yeah, so he told me what he was doing, and I started begging him, hey, mail some beer. Mail some beer. Well, he finally listened, and he mailed me a 6-pack of beer. And when I got it, I was like, oh my God, I want to drink it right now. But I couldn't. I put it in the fridge. It needed to relax. I didn't know how many days it had traveled through the mail or to get to me. So next day, go to work. When I get off work, that's all I thought about all day. Like, I can't wait to have this because he made me a Hefe, which was my favorite beer in Germany. I got home that evening and went and got my special Stein out of because I got a lot of German Steins. Pulled it out, went and got my Hefe glass, got it prepped, and I opened it up. And as I started pouring, the waft, the fumes that I got off of that, boom! I was Private Joe at a bar in Germany. Yeah. I got goosebumps on me. I was like, holy cow, I literally called him. I was like, how the heck did you put that into a bottle? I mean, so many emotions
just the
and
smell
memories.
Of it was able to bring you back.
Not even tasting it yet. I hadn't even tasted it yet. Just smelled it. So then I drank it, and of course it was super yummy. It was like, there's nothing like that. I mean, here in Austin, we have Live Oak, right? Amazing Hefe. That bottle that he gave me was better. I mean, it was literally brought me back 20 years. So did you know you had
something at that point?
I knew he had something because it wasn't mine. I wish I could claim it.
Well, we won't take any of Aaron's shine here on the show. We don't want to do that. So then before we sat down at the table, you told me a couple businesses that you were in, that you were probably working in at this time that you had the beer, right?
Exactly, yeah. So while he was doing this, when I got out, I became a home builder. Built homes for quite a while until 2008-9. I was actually working for somebody else. I didn't own my own company at the time, but economy crashes, lose my job, but we had already started through my wife some wedding stuff where she started doing flowers. When I got out, we moved here in 2001, she started doing wedding flowers, which led into us teaming with her parents and building a wedding venue out in Dripping Springs. Started 14 years ago. We turned 13 in a couple months. So they started running that, and then after, I'm not building houses anymore, I come on with Dad and help him finish a few mechanical things and build a couple more things for the venue. And then it just led into the role of us taking over the venue and running it and eventually buying our parents out. So that it's our business now. But
so did you feel like you fit right into the wedding venue business and selling that venue and trying to bring people in, or was it something you felt like you had to learn?
Well, I had to learn. I felt confident just because I'm okay talking to people.
Right.
I think I actually kind of learned that in the home building business, right? You're dealing with clients who are spending a lot of money on a house. Most of the time, this is their nest egg, right? They're building their house. It's not always, that rich guy who's building his third house. So you have to be able to deal with clients and make sure that they feel comfortable with you. And building them their castle, right? This is where they're going to live. Yeah. So I think I got those skills there. But there was definitely concern. I mean, going into the wedding business, as I was saying earlier, big Army Joe, GI Joe, going into the wedding business.
The service now, yeah.
So most Army or veterans of any kind, or just as a guy, we don't kind of grow up saying, hey, I'm going to be in the wedding business when I grow up. You want to be a firefighter or whatever. So that was a little bit of a concern, I think, more for the family than
They're
me.
like, how's this going to work out for Joe? Is he all right?
Is he going to be okay in this? But really, in running a wedding venue, there's a lot of facets, right? I mean, if you're owner-operator, there's financing, there's maintenance, there's meeting the couples, email. I mean, there's tons of things you have to do. But the fun part was meeting the people and giving the tour. That's the easy part, to walk around and a piece of property that her parents had owned for 30 years already and just has memories everywhere. Right. As you're walking the grounds and giving a tour, and like, hey, I
remember all these
doing this right here.
Moments.
They might pick out some random thing. Hey, that looks cool, how you did that wall.
And everyone has a different perspective of the land when they're walking around.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you then, I am somebody who, professional life, am not a great multitasker. So if I have one task, I need to focus on that one thing until I'm done with it, and then I need to transition to a different kind of focus. But from what you just talked about, when you're at the wedding venue, you just said that I'm dealing with maintenance, I'm trying to talk with the couples, I'm giving the tours, and this is not something that you had any background in. How are you able to multitask?
So multitasking, I kind of do the same thing as you. Once I know what I have to do that day, you got to evaluate it, what needs to be done first, and how are you going to accomplish the day and conquer, right? You got to win the day every day. So you just break those tasks down, and then I do the same thing. Hey, I need to focus for 30 minutes right here. I need to knock out all these emails before I go outside and try to fix this thing, because you might think it's a 10-minute fix and it takes you 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
Right? So you got to kind of level those things. What do I need to accomplish first? What do I need to knock out for the day? And then at the end of the day, you look back at your list again and say, okay, what didn't I do? What got skipped over? Oh, yeah, bookkeeping, right?
Right.
Bookkeeping goes to the back like all the time. Not a good thing to do when you own your own business, is to keep throwing bookkeeping to the back, because there's this thing called the U.S. government, the IRS.
They like to come get their money.
Yeah, and if you don't take care of those things up front and keep them, in place and in check, they become a monster.
Is that something that you've applied now that you and Aaron are running the beer company?
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to learn that lesson the hard way, right? Of not keeping up and then hiring a CPA to come in and do my books.
Fix some things.
And they're there for days and days and days, and it's just racking up a huge bill.
Right.
When if I would have kept it in check to begin with, I could have saved all that money. I could have kept it in my bank account for the business.
So was that the professional lesson though that you learned? Was like, hey, if a weakness that I have or something that is taking up too much bandwidth, I can't get to this one thing. What would you tell other people out there who are maybe struggling with something in their business, whether it's marketing or it's social media or it's sales, or that one thing that they know is hanging out there and they can't get their arms around it? Your message to them would be what?
Well, that's when I go back to y'all, and if you have a weakness, don't try to conquer it. Find somebody to help you. Bring in a professional to teach you how to do it if you really want to still do it yourself, or just find somebody who can come in and take care of that one weakness for you. Or maybe it's two. Maybe you're not good with books and you're not a good mechanic. But you've got to address that. You can't just keep ignoring it, because it will be that little chink in the armor that's could ruin a whole business just because you didn't want to tackle that, or you have to.
So would you say the lesson that you learned from home building, so let me back up a little bit. So you leave the service, you learn almost the ability to talk with people in the private sector while you're doing home building.
Yes, sir.
Then you add on to that the idea of, hey, if I leave something that's a little bit off my radar and I keep pushing it back, now I need to know I can't do this. So you have these two really paramount lessons learned. Did you take both of those into starting the beer company?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, everything that you learn in your life as you go, sets you up for that next step, that next, hopefully success that you're going to take. Mm-hmm. Kind of like I said earlier with Aaron, you're gonna fail, but you can't be afraid of failing. Right? I mean, it is scary. You might have put a lot of money out there, a lot of time, a lot of effort, whatever that business is that you're starting. But if you're scared to fail, you'll never step.
You can't even start at that point, right?
You'll never take that first step. So you just have to know that you got to work hard. You got to get out there and get it done, whatever it is. If you're flipping burgers and you have your own food truck, or if you're doing weddings or beer or whatever, right? You got to know that I'm going to give it my all. Mm-hmm. And if I give it my all and I still don't succeed, what did I learn from that?
Yeah, I think it's actually important because a lot of veterans, when you get out of the service, you may experience some culture shock. You may not actually know what business that you want to go into. But I think what is important to learn from your experience, that it's not so much that you're in the exact industry you need to be in, it's that you're learning the lessons from the moment you're in to apply them in a better place down the road.
Exactly. I never thought in a million years I'd be in the wedding business, right? I mean, I literally didn't. Had old high school buddies, old Army buddies. What? You're in the wedding business? Text me, message me, whatever.
Giving you a hard time.
Yeah, just, razzing me. That's how we do it in the military. But those lessons I learned in home building of, being efficient, using your time wisely, and making sure. One of the things I probably need to get back to is making my list every day. I've
keeping track of the
to-dos. I
to-dos.
kind of got away from actually writing it on a piece of paper, because when you write it down and then you see it again and you remember, hey, I've got to go check that off my list. I got to check it off my list. I learned that in home building. My wife does the same thing all the time. Like, where's your list? We got to make sure we get these done. She's the list lady.
Can you address something that we've talked about at this table, which is in the Army you were an engineer, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the name
combat engineer.
Combat engineer. Okay. When veterans get out, I think they kind of do the at least what we call in the Marine Corps the MOS. They try to find something similar. Okay, that didn't happen for you. Can you speak to a veteran out there who goes, I'm an infantry guy, I'm a combat medic, I'm a pilot, and I'm not going to do any of that in the civilian world, but you have done just fine going in a totally different direction. You've applied some skills to an industry that was not on your radar prior to when you were in the service. Can you talk about that transition of going from the military to one industry to a different one, and how you're able to kind of weave all of those together?
So the one thing I really learned in the military is they teach you a lot of core skills, lots of them, right? Be disciplined and all these things, and that translates to anything.
Mm-hmm. Regardless of industry.
It doesn't matter what industry it is, but if you get up and you still take care of those things every day, it can translate, and you just got to not be afraid. Sometimes in life, I didn't know the economy was going to go sour in 8, 9, and 10. Mm-hmm. No one could have, saw that coming and known what to do exactly. But it happened. And in that transition period, I had the chance to do 3 other construction jobs, where people called me and said, hey, we remember you over there. I'm doing this commercial job. I need a superintendent. But it was a lot of travel. I wasn't going to be at home. I could have made a better paycheck than what I was doing building houses. But I didn't want to live in Waco 5 days a week and then see my family 2 days a week. So doors open doesn't mean you have to walk through it, right? You got to really evaluate what's going on in your life. And when I got done evaluating those things, my family came first.
Yeah.
I mean, that
was a motivating factor.
Yeah, I mean, I literally took my construction job, building houses. That job offer came 7 days after I was fully awarded my VA benefits to go to college. And I had to make that life choice. I'm here now with my wife, my son, and a baby on the way. I can go and get a degree, right? It's going to be a struggle for 4 years, 5 years, whatever it takes. Or I can go to work in what I was trying to do anyway, which is construction. But I chose, I need to go to work. I need to support my family, and I need to do that, right? So I chose not getting an actual college degree over helping support my family. And, you know, my wife had one great thing of advice, and it's like, you need to do it for yourself. I don't want regrets later, 10 years down the road, saying, I should have went to college, I should have done this, right? You can kick yourself in your butt all your whole life for what you should have done, because there's always that. But there's so many positives. You just got to remember, look at to the bright side, look to what's going to help you, and go for it, because those skills that you were taught, they translate. They translate. And I know not everyone has great people skills, and you know, you're not always comfortable talking to kind of strangers. And
is that what makes you so great at the brewery, do you think?
I think in a little bit, yeah, customer service is a great thing, right? I mean, it really helped in the home building business. It really helped in the wedding business. It's really helping. I think that's part of the reason, you know, we won a couple of those awards. Our little hometown where the brewery is in Dripping Springs, we've been there over 20 years now. So when Stacy and I first opened our first business 20 years ago, you know, the chamber had 30 businesses, right? It has over 600 now. It's a grown community. It has lots of support, and I tell everybody that was the biggest surprise award for me, because we didn't go out and politic for it. Right.
You just tried to do the best that you could.
Man, Aaron and I were heads down, just chugging along, working away, doing our thing at the brewery.
When you were in the midst of all of it, how confident or concerned were you, for lack of a better term?
Well, I was really confident because the product that we were putting out is going to be so good. Great. I mean, it really kept me motivated, because, you know, it's kind of funny. Our business partnership started in a hotel in Vegas.
Wow.
And that's where he was living.
Now it's come full circle here to...
And I said, I don't know anything about beer, Aaron, but I know how to build stuff. You know how to brew stuff.
Let's be partners.
Let's do it. And we shook on it. And then, you know, it takes a couple years to do a lot of paperwork, but it happened.
Let me ask you this. Is this your dream job, running a brewery in Dripping Springs, Texas, and growing a business?
I really think
it must be fun.
I love the beer business, but I like the challenge of getting a new business started. My wife and I were talking about just a couple weeks ago of, you know, man, you know, people keep saying we're a little crazy. This is our fourth business, right? We just started another one. But
is it an adrenaline rush for you?
A little bit. I mean, it's that, you know, you put in all that sweat, blood, and tears to build something. And then when you see people come in and go, man, this place is really cool. You guys did an awesome job, and that freaking beer is good. Yeah, it's really good. So that gives you that boost, and that gives you that confidence. And you know, we didn't get that day one. Right. You know, this is three years later. Yeah, before you start getting accolades or you know, having just people say, you know, good job, do it.
Last question for you here. What do you think, you know, is there one thing that you would tell a veteran that we maybe haven't talked about here at this table? You know, we talk a lot about personal and professional growth. We've talked about the wedding venue business. We've talked about transition out of the military and now starting a new business. There's something that we haven't hit on yet that you'd like to communicate to the audience?
Yeah, you can't be afraid. I know a lot of veterans now. I have a couple younger brother-in-laws and stuff who've went out and come back. They're a little jaded. You know, I didn't get to go see all that stuff that a lot of veterans got to go see. I mean, we went to Bosnia, and of course there was, you know, some shooting here and there, but I never really saw, you know, really bad things. You know, luckily for me. Right. But there are veterans that have. So the one thing, when you come back and you're translating into the civilian world again, you just got to remember that you're no longer in the Army. Okay, you're no longer a Marine or an Air Force person, or right.
You're just Joe or Dan.
Yeah. So you're not a private, you're not a sergeant, you're not a captain, you're not any of those, okay? I mean, it's not just Private Joe who has issues. Captain Joe has issues too. You know, they see things. So you gotta, what do you want in life? What direction do you want to go? And you just gotta go. You just gotta try. You gotta
set a path and keep pushing towards it.
And push it. And you know, you're not gonna succeed. When I started trying to be a home builder, I got told literally a dozen times, we can't hire you, you don't have a degree. And that's why I went to the VA. That's why I spent weeks and weeks and weeks and mounds of paperwork to fill out to, you know, get all that stuff. So I got told no to a lot. And I was like, okay, well, they won't hire me because I don't have this, so I need to go get that.
Yeah.
Right? So go get that. Whatever that is, go get it. Just, you know, keep chugging along. And if you need help, there's great people, especially in the state of Texas. Holy
Absolutely.
cow. Man, Texas is proud of their vets.
It's a great place to be.
I'm proud of our vets. We do lots of vet stuff at our brewery. But there's people that'll help you.
Absolutely.
There's so many chapters. Doesn't even have to be on the state level like y'all. I mean, there's local people that will just help you and get you on your feet. Use them. Not that that's a bad thing. You say, oh, I'm using them. I didn't earn that. No, you earned it, brother. You were out there. You earned it. So take advantage of it. It's offered to you and our brothers and sisters. So go get them.
Awesome. Well, Joe, thank you for stopping by Studio 8.
Thank you
for telling us that. That's an amazing story of spending time in Germany, coming back here and creating an award-winning business right in the middle of Texas. And we're really proud of you. Thanks for coming to studio, telling your story. For everyone at home, as always, thank you for joining us here at the Next Gen Warrior Show. As always, Next Gen Warrior is brought to you by Chairman George P. Bush and the Texas Veterans Land Board. We will see you next time.
Follow us on Instagram at Voices of Vets, on Twitter at Voice of Veterans, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Voices of Veterans. To hear more, please visit voicesofveterans.org. Join us in sharing the success stories of Texas veterans. Thank you for joining us for the Next Gen Warrior podcast.